Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivashari Gaura Bhakta. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishavad Paramahansa Paribhaj Vicharya Shrotarashta Shishiman Abhayacharya Narabinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Jayam Vishavad Paramahansa Paribhaj Vicharya Shrotarashta Shishiman Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivashari Gaur Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Kungamayi Ki Jamunamayi Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Jugadharma Harinam Sankirtan Ki Brihat Vidanga Ki Hitai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembly devotees, all glory to the assembly devotees, all glory to the assembly devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to address myself to all of you. Just 1 second, I have to close something here so it doesn't make noises. And the topic for today and how to keep focused. First of all, the first part of this, the subject matter of today's class is fulfilling your purpose. So let's deal with that first, and then I just want to say something. Then I'll read a verse from Bhagavad Gita, which I think deals with this very precisely, and then we will discuss the other half of it, fulfilling the purpose, keeping focused in these times, uncertain times. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganam Jana Sharakaya Chakshurum Militam Nina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So the first part of what I would like to present today is, what is our purpose? This is just something I would like to, we need to understand this. Many, many years ago, when I would go out regularly and distribute our books to the public, my introduction would many times be, what is your goal? I would ask people, just walk up to them, say, say hello, how are you? What? I'm doing a survey. What is your goal in life? And people would just, most of the time I would just get a blank stare. People would really have to think about it. What is my purpose? What is my goal? What do I want to achieve? People would say, well, my family. That was pretty common, at least among married people. Of course, married people are becoming less common nowadays, but they were more popular in those days. And young people would say, well, I'm studying to do this or that, but it didn't matter what the answer was. Everybody was stunned. And then I would try to ask people, isn't it important, if we want to be focused in life, to understand what is our goal? Because the more we are associated with superficiality, which comes from our own mind, just like In our philosophy, we have what is called the three miseries that come from this world that affect us. Um, Adidaivam, things that come from nature, from forces that are greater than us. Uh, Adibhaudika, difficulties that come from our own mind and our bodies. And that's something that happens all the time. And also, and things that come from adibodhika, adhyatmika. Adibodhika things come from other people, and adhyatmika things that come from myself. Otherwise, we have mosquitoes, we have annoying people, annoying insects, annoying dogs, annoying so many things. And then we have our own mind, which sometimes gives us pleasure, sometimes gives us pain. So all these things together, they make life uncertain. Because actually, the more you have a real goal in your life, a real fixed goal, then the more that the less uncertainty there is. But we are bombarded in modern society by uncertainty in the form of superficial goals that are taught to us throughout our life. Superficial achievements, superficial things that actually have no benefit for ourselves, the real person, the soul. But we're always feeling, if I just do this, once I fix this, if I just have this much more money, if I could just increase my income this much, then everything will be secure. And we want to be secure. The nature of the soul is Satchit Ananda. Sat means eternity. The soul is eternal. And therefore the soul never feels, in its original state, the soul never feels any anxiety, any problem, because we're eternal. But when we're in when our eternality is forgotten, then we're in a constant state of anxiety, trying to make ourselves eternal. Ladies do that sometimes with cosmetics. The older they get, the more cosmetics they may need. And taking our supplements and this and that. Not that we shouldn't do it, but men will get a little wig or whatever. We Botox, whatever we can do to try to feel that this very temporary body has some permanence. Then we try to make a secure situation. We want to have a home. We want to pay off our home. We want to have this. And these are, of course, we need a home. A family needs a home. But it's not permanent. Because even if once you have it, does it ever really belong to you? At least in the US, everybody has to pay property taxes. And what happens if you don't pay your property taxes? After a certain amount of time, you can get so many restrictions. They won't take your property away, but your debts will pile up. And because if you don't pay it, then they'll figure a way to get it from you. And if they don't, you won't be able to maintain it. So does it ever really belong to you? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's an interesting set of verses that they say that who does this body really belong to? Is it mine? How many living entities are living in this body besides myself? I mean, I'm here in the heart. I'm the one that supposedly controls it. But a little germ can sometimes control my body more than I can. Some little germ, just like we have the coronavirus, a little virus can creep in and control your body more than you can ever control it. And just like there's a famous verse in the Bhagavatam that says, a prayer of Sri Prasad Maharaj to Lord Nrsimhadev. He says, my dear Lord, if someone has the most secure boat, there's no There's no absolute prevention that it won't sink. If one has the best parents, one can still be in danger. And if one has the best doctor, one can still get sick and die. So all those things that are presented to us as security, as sat, to make us feel, make the soul feel comfortable in this very uncomfortable situation, that we're living in a temporary environment. We're living even in a temporary body. The body is always changing, even though we don't want it to change. So, so it really helps us to understand what is the purpose of life. Now, when we buy something in a store, or we, it comes with a manual, especially if it, of course, if it's a bag of nails, maybe you don't need instructions. But if it's, some kind of an apparatus, something that's a little complex, it always has a manual. How to use it, how to set it up, how to put it together, what it needs to function. Especially every complex machine or item that we may purchase. So the most complex thing around us is the universe. And the universe also has its manual, which is called Veda. The Vedas are the eternal books of knowledge, and they're given to show us how to use this world. How do we navigate this world? Just like if you go somewhere, you need a map. Well, nowadays, people have GPS, some kind of navigation system. But still, if you're going somewhere, you need a navigation system. And so going through this life, going through this material existence, we need a navigation system. We need to know that what is the purpose? Just like one of the greatest devotees of the Lord 500 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, who is, some people consider him a great saint, but we understand he's an incarnation of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, one of his greatest devotees, Sri Sanatana Goswami, he approached the Lord in a very humble mood. And he said, "My dear Lord, I'm very perplexed because I don't know. I have such everyone tells me I'm a learned person, I'm an educated person, I know all these languages, I have Brahminical training, all these things. But I don't know who I am. I don't know why I'm suffering. So this is if I don't know who I am and I don't know why I'm suffering, what to speak of knowing anything else? So otherwise, what is the purpose of life? Most of us consider the purpose of life is to be happy. And that's natural, because another eternal aspect of the soul is ananda. We want bliss, we want happiness. So that's the most essential thing for the soul, even more than feeling our eternal existence, even more than acquiring knowledge, perfect knowledge about who we are and what everything is about. The most essential thing for all of us is to be happy. That is the craving. The soul craves because the soul is capable of processing unlimited happiness. The soul is so powerful and Krishna is so wonderful, the source of all happiness. Just like we see Krishna, he's playing his flute, and so he's always blissful. He's showing us his very form, that form that we see Krishna in, showing us that the purpose of life is to be with me, is to be blissful. Just like if we see someone and we read in a magazine or television or whatever, we see someone on the internet, we want to know that person. We want to know what is the formula. So Krishna is the most blissful person. And he's saying that that he's telling us that you are an eternal, blissful being. You're supposed to be happy. So therefore, it's natural that we look for happiness. But if you're looking in the wrong place, then just like I remember when I was young, they had the Easter egg hunt, and you hit something, you hide and seek, you try to find something. So Krishna, generally we're looking everywhere for happiness, but at the same time, even when we find whatever degree of happiness we find, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, a day, a vacation, 3 days, 1 week, one month, it's never enough. We are never satisfied. We may feel satisfied for a few minutes, for a few hours, for a few days, even for a few years. But because until we're connected with the source, and of course the classical example is given in the Vedic scriptures, a fish out of water. If a fish is out of water, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do for the fish will not be happy. And so when we are not connected to Krishna, we cannot be happy. And therefore Krishna says, he says in Bhagavad Gita that he says, Mamupetya punarjanma dukalayam ashashvatam. Yeah, which means that Krishna is saying that once you come back to me and leave this place, and how does he describe this place? How does he describe this world, this universe, this material environment around us? Dukalayam ashashvatam. He says it's dukalaya, it's full of difficulties, just like we just discussed, 3 miseries. And they're always, one of those 3 is practically always with us. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's this is not right, that's not right. So Krishna says there's always some disturbance. But because we're so anxious to be happy that we have a psychological adjustment that we make, that whatever situation we're in, I always remember this happened to me, just to give an example. What was that, 1979? I was in Argentina, and maybe it was, 79. So it could have been 78. Anyway, they just had the revolution, and the money, which was previously like 3 pesos to $1, went to like almost 1 million to $1. And so I went to buy a 7-Up. I had this big bag full of money to buy a 7-Up. I put it on the counter. And so I said, wow, what a heavy situation. And the man looked at me and he said, well, at least here we eat well. So we have that tendency, even though so many things may be going wrong, we think, well, not so bad. Another occasion, I was distributing books, and we were in New Mexico. And there's one part of New Mexico which is just so barren, there's not a plant. You can't see a plant anywhere, not even like a cactus. And we pulled into a gas station, and there was the only thing there was a few rocks in the sand. And so at that time, this was like a long time ago, there were gas attendants that would fill up your tank. And so he came out, I paid him, and I said, what a place. And he said, yes, isn't it? It's so beautiful when the sun shines on the sand. So it doesn't matter. We have a tendency to adjust. But then Krishna says, ashashvatam, it's temporary. Even whatever adjustment you make, however you try to conform to that situation, and we will do so because we're so anxious to be happy, we will accept the highest grade of happiness. Just like there's a saying in India, that whenever you go to the marketplace, you buy whatever's available. So we apply that to our lives. Whatever degree of happiness I can find, I will accept that, and I will just try to have as much of that happiness as I can, as long as it lasts, because I can't live without happiness. And we've seen what happens to people, especially in this country, in the U.S., that when people are too deprived of happiness, they can become so bewildered that they kill people, they do mass murders, they they torture others, they become totally deranged, because the soul must have happiness. And if you can't find happiness, just like modern music nowadays, now rap music has become very popular. Of course, some people do it in a very positive way, but at least the beginning, I don't know how it is, I don't listen to it, but um, nowadays, or at least when it began, it was practically always talking about drugs or violence or this or that or sex. It's very like downbeat, very like not so positive, not so socially, politically, economically positive. Because if you can't find happiness in the superficial items of life that are available to some but not to many, or if you don't find happiness, then people find happiness in cruelty, they find happiness in power, they find happiness in something. But we must find a source of pleasure, even if that source of pleasure means violence. Uh, and so So getting back to the original point, what is our purpose? This is the whole meaning of Bhagavad Gita. And this was why Krishna chose to speak Bhagavad Gita in a battlefield. Krishna could have chosen a great saintly person like Vyasadeva, or one of the great sages, Angira Muni, or some other great saintly person, and he could have sat down near a beautiful waterfall or a river, or on the beach on the ocean with beautiful setting and trees, and he could have spoken the philosophy of the basic philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna chose a battlefield because he himself says in the Bhagavad Gita that prakriti stani karshati, that in this world one has to struggle for existence. And therefore, he chose, especially in this age, this materialistic age, which is called Kali Yuga, one has to struggle. One has to struggle to just somehow or another fulfill the purpose of life. So some people have to struggle just to eat daily. Of course, it's interesting that I've observed in many, many places that not the people who have to struggle like just to eat and they're practically starving, but people who live day to day, I generally find they're in less anxiety than the people who have so many things. Because as Krishna says, Nir Yoga Kshema Atmavan, he says in Bhagavad Gita, it's very difficult to acquire something. It's more difficult to keep it, to preserve it. Just like you buy a car, well, that takes one effort. But then you have to make your payments if you're buying it on credit, and then you have to repair it. And so this is, Krishna says, difficult to acquire, more difficult to preserve, and it's even more difficult to give up. When you have to give something up, that's even more difficult. So Krishna advises us, just acquire what you need to keep the body and the soul together. That doesn't mean just to live in a little hut, or have a hammock and 2 trees. Although sometimes people find solace in that type of simple life, but it means according to your situation, your family, your children, whatever your situation is, according to that, try to make life as simple as possible. One of our famous saying, our theme is simple living, high thinking. And modern society sometimes just does the opposite. It makes life very complicated. Complex living, no time to think. We're so busy doing this, doing that, buying this, trying to make more money, trying to achieve this, trying to study more, trying to know more. So busy that we don't have time to cultivate that happiness which exists within us. In the Vedic scriptures and Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhu Kabeno, that the soul is always blissful. The soul is always eternal. It's not the blissful, eternal position of the soul is not something that's acquired. It's something that's always there. Srila Prabhupada gave us the example of a diamond. You have a diamond, it's very beautiful, translucent material. But if your diamond you drop it in the mud and you pick it up, you can't see those qualities. The qualities are there. The diamond hasn't changed, but it's covered. So material existence means that the eternal nature of the soul is covered. But because the soul is the animating, in Latin, just like the word in Latin, also in Italian, for the soul is anima. Anima, which means life, which means to go, to work, to move. And so the soul is the active principle, and therefore the nature of the soul is always coming out. The consciousness, which is the energy of the soul, is always coming out. But what is it doing? It's connecting with what is available to us according to our knowledge, our environment, our situation, our level of consciousness. And so if we're connecting with the temporary things of this world, we think that is the purpose of life. And therefore Bhagavad Gita teaches us in a hostile environment. And when is material nature not hostile? Just like, let's take what we're always trying to achieve, peace. Now, I always make the point, you look at nature. Just like I remember one time I was walking on the beach in Panama, and it's a very rocky, the beaches there are rocky, a lot of hills and mountains going right up to the beach. So I came to this one point, I couldn't go around, and I had walked so far, I just had a little ways more to go. I didn't want to go all the way back. So I decided, let me climb up to the jungle. I'll never forget this. I went up to the jungle. There were so many mosquitoes that my arms were literally black. I couldn't even see the skin. And I was just brushing them off, and they would just another coating and another coating. Finally, I ran through the jungle, got down to the beach again, jumped in the water. I was shivering because of so many mosquito bites. But the point is, it just came home to me so strongly that where is peace in this world? Here I am on a beautiful beach, nice. It was almost sunset, beautiful water and sky and jungle. But once I went into that jungle, I was attacked. And if I would have tried to swim around the rocks, well, there may be sharks, there may be crabs, there may be this, there may be that. So where do we find peace in this world? I always make the point that peace is something that is achieved. Peace is something that is achieved by connecting with divinity. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, how do we get peace? Oktaram jagatapasam, by understanding what we should dedicate ourselves to. What is the purpose? And Krishna defines that purpose as connecting with him. Everything, he says, Sarvaloka Maheshwara. Everything belongs to me. Just like sometimes a child will pick up some object that belongs to their parents, and then they'll take it over to their parents with a smile and they'll give it to them. And the parents are very happy because it's my child giving me something, that the connection is there. The love is flowing between them. So the same thing with Krishna. He says, everything belongs to me. And therefore, when you understand this and you use everything for its purpose, and what is that purpose? For self-realization. Krishna is the most perfect person who has created the most complex systems. We have created computers with the intelligence that Krishna gave us. We have created computers and very complex systems, but nothing that we have created is as complex as DNA or a cellular structure. We cannot create anything so perfectly arranged, and so perfectly arranged is nature. So Krishna has that ability. He doesn't have the ability to give us material happiness, if that were the purpose of life. So therefore, the purpose, according to Krishna, the purpose of life is to understand him, the source of everything. And Krishna says, it's not that you should just see me as the source of spiritual things. Aham sarvasya pabhavam mata sarvam pravartate. I am the source of everything spiritual and material. And therefore, just as spiritual knowledge is given to us so that we can connect with Krishna, the Supreme Person, so that we can develop our relationship with Krishna, really not even developing, but awakening that relationship with Krishna, which has always been there. So that's what Krishna is telling us. Otherwise, he could arrange for everything to be very perfect. But according to karma, he makes wonderful arrangements. If people follow the laws of nature and are good to live in the mode of goodness, are good to one another, then by karma, they get very wonderful material situations. We see people who are living very, very nicely materially, and we see most of the people who aren't quite living on that platform. And we see many people who are living miserably. And so Krishna doesn't have the ability to make us materially happy. Yes, he shows us that. But Arjuna says in Bhagavad Gita that even if I had a kingdom in this world with the sovereignty of the devas, of the demigods, with all the riches and everything, I would still not be happy. And Srila Prabhupada in that purport, he says, just like there are so many prosperous countries, just like where do we find the highest rates of suicide? In the most developed countries. People have enough money. Prabhupada used to always make, in his times, Prabhupada would always say, you have so many material facilities, but why are the young people becoming hippies? So nowadays we can say the same thing. Why are young people always clamoring for change? Why do we see now in the US, it's very close to election time, people are criticizing, politicians criticizing one another. Oh, this one did this one's going to do this one's going to ruin the economy. Whether they ruin the economy or fix the economy for some short time, where do we see in the world history where any economy, any political system, any social system has ever solved the problems of life, has ever made everyone happy? Because if someone would have discovered that, everyone would have taken it up. If somebody actually discovered, of course, one can say, well, what about Krishna consciousness? You say that this is the solution. So why didn't everybody take it up? But the point is, most people do take it up. Unfortunately, they're not living in this world. Those people who do take it up, they go to Vaikuntha. they go to the spiritual world. This place, just like one could say, why are the people in the hospital not healthy? Therefore, health doesn't exist. Because in the hospital, you're getting cured. Or one can say in the prison, this government is useless. Because look at what we're eating in the prison. Just some, some of the same old stuff every day, a big pile of beans and this and that, and plop it on my plate, and I have to go work hard, and I'm locked up in a cell. What kind of a government is this? No, most people are living peacefully in their homes and in their societies, but the criminals are in the prison. So those of us that are in material existence, is because we need to learn how to live properly. So the second part of this this presentation is uncertain times. The times are only uncertain if we are uncertain as to what is the purpose of my life. When we know that that life in itself and everything is meant for serving the Supreme Lord and pleasing the Lord. And what is the purpose of pleasing the Lord? Because the Lord, Krishna, is the source of all pleasure. When you connect with any source, just like if you connect with the source of something on the internet, you're looking something, you find the best price, you connect with the source, and you get the product. So the unlimited source of bliss, of happiness, of pleasure is Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. We have a little booklet called The Reservoir of Pleasure, or you can read it as an article. And in our Bhaktivedanta Vedaveds. So Krishna is the source of all pleasure. If you connect with Krishna, then you will feel the pleasure. But the connection has to be secure, just like everybody on their cell phone, WhatsApp or whatever, you'll see the little thing, this is a secure connection. So we also have to have a secure connection with Krishna. It's not that the connection, just like I can't go on internet and Amazon or whatever and order something and it says $14.99 and I say, oh, I'm only giving $5. Well, that won't work. You can't do that. So also if we're connecting with the source of pleasure, Krishna, the source of pleasure, which we're looking for, the connection, how to connect with that is established by the source, not by the person who's looking for it. Just like you can't go to a store and say, it says $10, I'm only going to give $1. But this is what we're doing with the Supreme Lord. Krishna gives so many wonderful instructions in Bhagavad Gita, which is meant for times like this. And times like this aren't any different than any other times. It's just our perception. Our perception. We've always been in an insecure position in this material world. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Padam patam yad vipatam natesham. That in this world, there's danger at every step. But we don't see it. In 5,000 years ago, there was a conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Yamaraj. And Yamaraj asked Yudhishthira, what is the most amazing thing that you found in this world? And he wasn't talking about the 7 wonders of the world, the pyramids, or he was talking with the most amazing thing. And he said, the most amazing thing that I find is that someone's, great-grandfather died. Someone's grandfather has died. Someone's father is very old and they will die. But we live our lives as if I will not die. And he said, this is the most amazing thing. People don't take into account the one thing that is guaranteed. We have one guarantee in life for everyone. Everyone has this guarantee. We will have to leave this body. We will have to leave this world. Guaranteed, 100%. Since times, in every ancient civilization, we find someone looking for the fountain of eternal life, the fountain of youth, Ponce de Leon. He found Florida. And of course, some people think Florida is a very nice place and maybe nicer than some places, but they still have mosquitoes and people still die there in spite of the nice atmosphere. So this is what we should focus on. That the real security in life, the real certainty is life. The one thing, the one person that will never abandon us, that's Krishna. The one friend that will never deceive us, that is Krishna. The one relative, Krishna says, I am the father of all living entities. So the one relative that will never disappoint us is Krishna. And when we connect with Krishna, then we feel that beautiful connection, that beautiful, and then no matter what happens, then we will always feel happy because we're connected with a source of happiness. And we can live with a lot or we can live with a little. It doesn't matter. Srila Prabhupada said that during World War II, that he said many people in Calcutta, he was in Calcutta at that time, Kolkata nowadays, he said many people were starving, but he said, not one Vaishnav was going hungry. Somehow or another, Krishna took care of his devotees. And all these people, because the devotees were depending on Krishna. Of course, one can be a devotee, but if you're not depending on Krishna, you may experience a lot of anxiety. So at this point, I wanted to read a verse from Bhagavad Gita, and anyone who has a book or just to illustrate this point, how Krishna tells us how to always remain positive, always feel connected, always feel focused on Him. And this particular verse, which is the second chapter, text number 56, one of my favorite verses of all Bhagavad Gita, and especially Srila Prabhupada's purport. And I will conclude with this verse and some concluding words. So any of you that want to look it up, you can read along with me. Again, Bhagavad Gita 2:56. Dukesh vanudvignamana sukeshtu vigatas priyaha vita raga bhaya krodha stitadhir muni uchate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, miseries from others, miseries from my body, or miseries from nature. When there is happiness, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So most of us, we don't, when there's happiness, we feel elated. But here, Krishna is saying, don't be satisfied with cheap, just like if you go to an advertisement for a Swiss watch or for something that's very good quality, they'll say, don't be satisfied with some cheap product that will break down. Get our product. So Krishna is saying, don't be satisfied with the cheap happiness that comes and goes in this world. One great sage, Govinda Das, calls it Chapala Sukha, which means flickering happiness, like the flame of a candle. Don't be satisfied with this. He says, and remain steady even when things are difficult. This is called a person of steady mind. And what will this do for us? It will free us from attachment, fear, and anger. So Srila Prabhupada, I'm not going to read the whole purport because it's not so long, but I'm just going to read the one part that helps us understand how to do this. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries. For he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Just like someone who goes to court, we go to court, and the duty of the judge is to give you the minimum sentence that will allow you to rectify yourself, will allow you to become rectified. That's the purpose. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but it's the way it's supposed to be. So here, Srila Prabhupada is giving us the formula based on what Krishna says, that if we understand that we have lived many lifetimes, then there shouldn't be any mystery. Just like if I sometimes someone will look in their pocket and then they think, well, I only have $20, and you're in anxiety. But then you remember, oh yeah, I spent the other $60. I bought this. Oh, okay. So your anxiety is gone because you remember your past deed. So if we understand that I have lived in this world with so many lifetimes, and Sri Narada Muni, the great sage, he says, one should try to observe the conditions of all the suffering conditions of all the living entities and understand that I have undergone all these things now that I'm in the human form of life, and therefore I should avoid them. So we can understand, seeing so many people doing so many wrong things, just like sometimes we get disturbed when people don't drive properly in the traffic. No. So when we remember this, we can think, wow, whatever my difficult situation is right now, because I'm connecting with Krishna, I can feel secure that Krishna is minimizing it just enough that I can remember the real nature of this world and the real purpose of my life, which is to be educated in spiritual knowledge. And then let us read what Srila Prabhupada says about happiness. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of happiness, of that happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace, that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. So instead of thinking, I worked hard, just like my father used to tell me, no, he was a self-made man. When I was young, I trudged through the snow 5 miles every day, delivering newspapers. And, I heard that about 300 times. Every time I didn't come up to the standard. So, we tend to think that way. But if we think, no, this is all Krishna's grace, and because I've got this money or health or intelligence, let me use them for the service of that person who has graciously given me this wonderful opportunity. Then we're always happy. In the Bible, it says, Christ said, better to give than receive. When we're in this mood of service, of giving to others, it's very happy. And when we're in the mood of taking, when you try to take something, just try to take something from a 1-year-old child and see what happens. And try to take something from anyone. So basically, the whole principle of this world is exploitation, taking. And it's so difficult, and it causes so much uncertainty and so much stress and so much difficulty. But when we live a life of giving, we can give. And even if I don't have anything to give, I can give knowledge, or I can give this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I can give that to others, and they will feel happy, and I will feel happy. I know that anyone feels their greatest happiness when you can actually give some pleasure to someone else. That is the greatest happiness in life. What to speak. And the more dear that person is to you, the greater the happiness. Just like if you give happiness to some person in the street, you feel good. If you give happiness to your child or to your mother or to your brother or to your wife or husband or best friend, then the pleasure is so much greater. So what to speak of giving happiness to the Supreme Person who's already blissful, but still feels that happiness of the love flowing from his devotee. Krishna feeling that that love coming from us when we're trying to offer everything to him, then that is the greatest certainty, the greatest security in this world, the greatest guarantee that we can have, that I will always feel secure, I will always feel happy, and I will always understand what is happening to me. I won't be bewildered, I won't be illusioned, I will just be able to actually enjoy life the way it's meant to be enjoyed in the service of the Supreme Personality of God. So these are some ideas that I've had on this particular subject. And so I'll stop here. There are other things I could say, but I don't want to take up too much time, and I want to leave some time for questions. It seems like there's a question already here, even before I stop speaking. So I will read that question. You can also read it in your chat if you're on Zoom. In order to be worthy of being in Krishna's presence, is it part of our duty to polish our character, learn to listen, to be kind, not to judge unnecessarily, to look for the good in everyone and to appreciate it, etc.? Yes, all those things and more. We find all those things in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna says, this will help you connect with me. This will make you worthy. But actually, Krishna doesn't put a price on being worthy. Krishna says, whatever your situation is, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo vadardati tivrena bhakti yogena. In the Bhagavatam, it says, whether you're full of desires or you have no desires, you're a very steady meditator, yogi, or you're a great devotee of the Lord, whatever your situation is, if you just accept this process of bhakti, this process of devotion to me, to Krishna, then Krishna will take it into account. Of course, as in anything, just like if you start working in a company and your first day, you'll make so many mistakes. You'll put this in the wrong place, you'll do this wrong. But nobody will care. They'll say, no, it's not like this. No. And even a child, when the child's small, no, it's not like this. No, it's not like this. But if you've been working in the company for 5 years and you do the same thing, then they'll fire you. And if the child makes the same mistakes when he's 10 years old or 12 years old, maybe he'll get a little spanking or a strong admonishment because he should have learned. So also, we can be in Krishna's presence because we are in Krishna's presence. Anyone who accepts this process of Krishna consciousness is chanting the name of the Lord. You're in the presence of Krishna. But to make yourself appreciate that on an ongoing way, then you have to recognize Krishna's presence more and more and more. Just like sometimes young people, they don't appreciate everything. They don't appreciate going to school. They don't appreciate many things that their parents are saying to them. when they're growing up. But when they get older, then they say, I'm so glad you did this. I'm so glad you did that. So sometimes in our growing in Krishna consciousness, we may not feel that, why is Krishna demanding this? This is a little too much. I'm stressed out. But if we just keep applying Krishna consciousness, and we keep following Krishna's directions, and as you say, we acquire these things. Krishna, the whole Bhagavad Gita is telling us to do these things, to be kind. What does Krishna say? If you want to be dear to me, what do? Adveshta. First thing he says, give up your envy. Sarva Bhutanam. To all living entities. Maitra. See everyone as your friend. Karuna evacha. And feel compassion for everyone. Try to understand that everyone is suffering because of these three modes of nature. So Krishna is giving us the instruction. But the first instruction is just understand that I am the supreme truth. Just understand that. And then Krishna says, just try to see me as the taste in water. No, he doesn't say right away, yeah, surrender to me. He says that at the end. In the beginning, he says, see me as the taste in water. When you smell something very beautiful coming from the earth, see me as that. You see that people have intelligence. See that I am giving you that intelligence. And then he gets a little more, and then he says, Tesham satata yuktanam vachatam priti purvakam. Then he says, try to always be connected with me, and be connected with me in love. Then I will give you the intelligence to progress further and to come closer to me. And then in the end of Bhagavad Gita, he says, now that I've given you all this knowledge, you should surrender to me. So it becomes progressively more, as we learn, as we grow in Krishna consciousness, then Krishna expects us to acquire more saintly qualities. So I hope that answers your question. And any other questions? If someone would like to raise their little blue hands, those that are on Zoom, or write it in the chat, or in Facebook.
I have a question. I couldn't find my blue hand. I don't know where it went this time.
Maybe because you're the host, you don't have a blue hand.
I actually have like two questions. The first is in this purport that you just read for 256, Prabhupada said a word here that really caught my attention. He said, when speaking about the devotees, when we're happy, we give credit to the Lord, thinking ourselves unworthy of happiness. We realize that it's due only to the Lord's grace that we have a comfortable condition, and so on. Next sentence, he says, and for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. So my first question being like this daring kind of quality or ideal, how do we balance that between being daring and gambling, not taking a risk, like how do we balance that, going out on a limb for Krishna without destroying our bhakti or harming others or ruining the project? Sometimes we can go a little too far. So I don't know if
I can give some examples. Daring in this sense means that one should go beyond one's comfort zone. If you want to progress spiritually, just like in anything, if you're weightlifting and you lift the same amounts of weights every day, then you won't become stronger. You'll just maintain. So also in advancing in spiritual life, if you want to advance, you have to always go a little bit beyond your comfort zone. And like anything, in dieting, in anything we do, if we want to improve, if we want to make it more, if you're in business and you want to make more money, you have to take a little risk. You have to go beyond the comfort zone. So that's basically what Krishna is saying. But you don't go too far. Just like one time there were two devotees. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Brahmananda and Gargamuni, it was two devotees. It was either both of them or one of them and somebody else. And they went to Pakistan. And then Prabhupada read, usually Prabhupada would get newspaper every morning because he would always like to see what's happening, what are the current events, and try to relate to that, you know, in any place he was. So he saw in the newspaper that a conflict was starting in Pakistan. And Prabhupada immediately said, send them a telegram, because there was no internet, or send them a telegram immediately, they should return. Prabhupada said, do not take unnecessary risk. So one thing is risk in this sense, or daring, or risk, doesn't mean foolishness. It means going a little bit, you know? A little bit means what Srila Prabhupada said, and I've been emphasizing in many classes, that this is a gradual process. Don't try to advance too quickly. Otherwise, so quickly that you try to push yourself beyond what is psychologically or physically possible for you. So Prabhupada would encourage us to do more for Krishna, but he would also tell us, take care of your health, take care of your, take care of your sadhana, make sure you read enough, make sure you chant enough. So he would say, do more service, but also make sure that you don't, you don't push yourself too much. So both those things have to be there.
Thank you. I think I'll hold off on my second question for now. I'm still trying to formulate it. I don't know if anybody else has anything. I know Dayananda.
Any blue hands, but
anybody else have a question?
Or you can raise your flesh hand also, but we may not be able to see you.
I mean, I guess I can keep going if it's okay. It doesn't seem like anybody has a question at this point. I was kind of reflecting on myself too, like personally from what I've gone through and seeing other devotees, it's like sometimes we have to just allow the material energy to beat us down with certain habits, you know, before we can finally realize that it's not good for us. And it just becomes so difficult to accept things right out of Shastra because of our conditioning or our habits or whatever it may be, outside influences. And I was just wanting to gain like more of a perspective. I mean, I guess the easy answer would be to become more Krishna conscious and more aware of things, but it just seems like
it does help, yeah.
It just seems like for some of these major habits, sometimes these very subtle things, it's like you do it for so long and then finally you just have that awakening where you're just too tired to do it anymore. And I wanted to kind of, I don't know if you could elaborate or comment further on that. Just something that came to mind as you were speaking earlier about different things.
Well, the first thing I'll say is what I just said. It's a gradual process. And of course, Prabhupada's classic example is a woman that's pregnant. She may think, oh, this pregnancy is difficult. Let me have the child right away. But of course, she has to wait the 9 solar months or the 10 lunar months. In India, they say 10 months. In the West, we say 9 months. So you have to wait. You have to let it develop. Now, another aspect to that is, you know, that seeing the quality of what we're getting. We're getting the highest, the most elevated philosophy, the highest and most unlimited transcendental spiritual bliss. We're getting the perfection of life. We're getting the opportunity to stop all miseries and suffering. So what will be the price for that? Just like if you go into a jewelry store and you see, all advertised, this is a 24 karat gold ring for $5.99. Will you believe it? So to me, at least in my own case, the fact that sometimes it's Krishna consciousness may seem to be have a it has its price. I feel this is authentic, this is real, because to get what it promises, just like sometimes there are other devotees of Krishna who have kind of branched off, or somehow or another they were related to our movement, and then they're not following somebody else, and then they say, just chant, you chant 4 rounds and do this, or something much less than what Prabhupada prescribed. Then I say, are you that much more powerful than Prabhupada? That you can give everything that Prabhupada is giving when he says, if you chant 16 rounds and you follow these 4 regulated principles, then this and this and this, you'll get Krishna. And someone else says, no, just do this and this. So in order to make that happen by normal mathematics, I would say they must be very potent. So Prabhupada has given us sometimes it's difficult, but I find that to achieve the perfection of anything, whether it be athletics, economy, when you want to really achieve something, if I want to be the richest person, or I want to be super healthy, it requires an effort, and that effort is ongoing. You can't say, well, I want to be healthy, so I'll do it for 3 months, and then I'll be healthy for the rest of my life. So we should feel enthused that the effort to become Krishna conscious is a challenge, and that should make us understand what we're getting. Yeah, I'm getting the most wonderful thing. The price should be, this should be the price.
Patience is difficult with oneself, or with anybody.
Yes.
Especially,
but,
I'm sorry.
Quality has its price. And what do we do to offset that? Lord Chaitanya told us, Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavata Shravana, that you associate with devotees. And just like you said in the beginning, we can't always associate with people as we did before. But then Krishna gives us the opportunity to associate electronically, just like to offset the difficulties in a certain aspect of Kali Yuga. Krishna will give us something else. He came in the form of Lord Chaitanya and gave us the chanting of the holy name. He came in previous times, in Vedic times. If you even think about something sinful, there's a reaction. But in Kali Yuga, Krishna said that unless you do it, there's no reaction. So Krishna always makes the adjustment. So at this point, even in our meager Krishna consciousness, or whatever degree of Krishna consciousness we may have, Krishna has given us all this technology, and we can be connected to him electronically. If we can't have direct association, we can hear so many classes, we can hear so many lectures of Srila Prabhupada and so many Vaishnavas. So if we always see things in that way, Krishna, he's always giving me these opportunities. I just have to take advantage of it. We just think that way. This verse that I read, it's meant to keep us in a positive frame of mind. The material world is sometimes a little depressing. And Prabhupada said one time, to be successful in spiritual life, you have to be a little pessimistic about this world, but you have to be super optimistic about Krishna and Krishna consciousness. You have to really understand this is the perfection of life. Here's a question, and then I see Sri Devi. She has a question. I'll go to this question, which appeared first on my screen. Happiness is a quality of the soul and the purpose of life, but there is suffering in the world also. Does the soul experience this pain also, or who feels this pain? The soul never suffers, but the consciousness perceives the pain that the body is going through, or perceives the pain of psychological disturbances, or the pain of social disturbance or political disturbance. So when the consciousness connects with pain or suffering or difficulty, then we feel it. We feel it, but how do we feel it? We feel it through the false ego. We don't feel it through the soul. We feel it, the soul is feeling it because the soul is identifying with the false ego. But the soul itself cannot give up its blissful nature. But the consciousness that's coming through the false ego, thinking I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm this, I'm that, I'm rich or I'm poor, and therefore I'm rich and my riches are being taken away, I'm in anxiety. But when our consciousness is connected with Krishna, then we feel the actual condition of the soul. And even though there may be physical pain, and Srila Prabhupada, no one has given us an example like Srila Prabhupada. He was translating the Bhagavatam, his body, the doctor that was attending him, he said, I cannot understand how he can tolerate the degree of pain that must, because there's practically no muscle. It's just skin and bone. And the skin, the bones are pressing against the skin, against the nerves. He said the degree of pain is unbelievable. And Prabhupada was chanting the Bhagavatam. Of course, he was feeling pain, but there was no doubt but he was so transcendental that he was concerned about the devotees. He wasn't eating. And one day he called the cook, who was Ayodhyapati, who is now Govinda Maharaj. And he said, what are the devotees eating? He wanted a detailed list of everything the devotees are eating. Are they all happy? Are they all eating properly? Prabhupada was concerned, his compassion, his love, his level of Krishna consciousness. He didn't identify with the pain. He didn't identify with the suffering. So when the soul is connected with Krishna, yes, you can still perceive the pain of the body, the difficulties of life. Sometimes even Prabhupada would be disturbed if somebody was making noise when he was trying to translate. And these are just the conditions of having a material body. But he showed us what it means to be transcendental. One time Srila Prabhupada walked into one of his artists, he was painting, and he walked in, he stepped on a thumbtack, went right into his foot, and he just lifted up his foot without any expression and pulled out the tack. And he started instructing. And she saw the tag, she saw him do it, she was very nervous. And then Prabhupada, when he walked out, he said, no, try not to let the tacks fall on the floor. So that was Prabhupada's transcendence. For him, it was more important to convey the message of Krishna consciousness. So when the soul is connected with Krishna, then the soul doesn't perceive. The pain is not important. The perception is there, but it loses its importance. And I can give a practical example, which I gave yesterday, that if you have a pain in your knee, then you're thinking about that pain. But if someone comes, the person you love the most, comes and embraces you, or someone brings you your favorite food, while you're eating it, you're not thinking about the pain in your knee. So when we have a greater source of pleasure, and therefore Krishna says, param drishtva nivartate, when we experience that higher taste, the lower taste or the lower difficulties also aren't so important. So I will now, Mother Sri Devi, if you'd like to ask your question. I think you're still muted.
Hare Krishna, Guru
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Thank you for another wonderful lecture. Both my friend and I are just riveted listening to all this transcendental knowledge. I have a question though regarding exactly what Bhagwan Narada Prabhu was also saying. This is also playing on my mind because I want to do something daring. Now, I don't know if that is foolish or my own grandiose ideas or so on. So I wanted to ask Your Holiness what you think that when Krishna, or rather, when we think, I want to do this project for Krishna, or I want to do this to serve the devotees, how do we know that is really what Krishna wants and not coming out of my own mental speculation or false ego or grandiosity? And then sometimes the scale of what I'm thinking frightens me also, but at the same time I think, no, I want to do this to serve the. So I've got a lot of conflicting thoughts in my mind, and I was hoping you can throw some light to guide me how to go further on these points.
Well, I can give the example of Baladev Vidyabhushan. When Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was requested to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, he was very old at that time, and he was absorbed in the highest, degree of Madhurya Ras, writing about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. So he called Baladev, who was his Shiksha disciple, and he said, "Why don't you do this?" So Baladev got the instruction from his Shiksha guru. But then what did Baladev do? He went to the Govinda deity and he prayed to Govinda that please, I have no qualification to do this. And the deity actually spoke to him in a dream, and therefore he called it Govinda Bhasya. But not only did he do that, he went to all the Vaishnavas and he said, I've been given this very daring task. I don't know, probably didn't use that word, but he was probably speaking to them in Sanskrit or Bengali or Hindi, whatever. But and the Vaishnavas gave his blessings. So if we want to do something, then we just try to get the blessings of the Vaishnavas, which is the greatest stamp of approval we could possibly hope for. So here we have another question that came on the chat. At what spiritual stage is a devotee capable of transcending bodily pain and illness? At any stage to some degree. And at what stage can we totally do it? Mahabhagavata, as Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he was a Mahabhagavata. He could transcend it to the degree that he did. And we can transcend it to the degree that we can according to our level of, so there's no generally speaking, when one comes to the point of nishta, otherwise when one is really fixed in Krishna consciousness, then one is less disturbed by all these things. Because, these disturbances are very real. And I just, yesterday I made the point, if we read the first verse of Upadeshamrita, it says that if you can control your speech, if you can control your mind and your anger, if you can control your eating and your your consumption and your sex drive, then if you can do these things, then you can make disciples all over the world. So that's how strong the bodily influences are. If you can just do these things, you can practically become a Mahabhagavat. So the challenge of transcending the bodily interferences is very great. So great that Rupa Goswami says, if you can transcend them, the challenges of the physical and subtle body, you can make disciples all over the world. So it's not an easy thing to do. And someone wrote here, Sri Devi wrote that His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami also transcended tremendous pain. Yes, because he was a very advanced devotee. And we see many, many advanced devotees that have transcended so much pain. And but the greatest pain, according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is to be separated from Krishna. So we have to transcend that pain first. And then all these other pains will go away. And if we don't feel that pain, that should be our greatest pain. If, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, when he was feeling bliss in Gambhira with Ramananda Roy and sort of Damodar, he said that, just see, I'm just like an actor on the stage. I'm speaking about I have love for Krishna, but I have no love for Krishna because I'm breathing. Otherwise, I'm maintaining my material existence. That shows I have no love for Krishna. He said, just like a small black spot on a white sheet is very obvious. It's very obvious that I am simply performing some, I'm just showing off, but I have no love for Krishna. So he was expressing the depth of separation that one should feel from Krishna. So let us work on that pain. One pain, just like in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, 5th chapter, it says, if you therapeutically apply the cause of a difficulty properly, then it will become the solution. So if we want to get rid of pain, let us accept the same thing, pain, the pain of separation from Krishna, and then we can remove the thorn of the pain of material existence. So here's from Hare Krishna. Okay. Oh, this was not a question. How to be able to discriminate without coming to judge others? That's a very good question. Yes. Otherwise, that's called constructive criticism. Otherwise, of course, Rupa Goswami teaches us that in Upadeshamrita. He says, there are many people who are devotees, but their level of Krishna consciousness is not very high. So what do? At a distance, we respect them. We don't necessarily associate with them because their habits may not be so good. We don't have intimate association, but we respect them. Even sometimes a devotee will be causing a problem. And we may have to even chastise them, but inwardly we should respect them. They're trying to serve Krishna. We should be praying, let Krishna please let this person see how what they're doing, what they're thinking, etc., is keeping them in darkness. So even when we're chastising someone, Prabhupada would chastise so many devotees. But internally, Prabhupada was only doing that for their benefit, just like a father sometimes chastises the child, but it's out of love. So we have to learn to discriminate with love. And then with people who are on our level of Krishna consciousness, more as contemporaries, we share devotional service. And Rupa Goswami says, and those that are more advanced than us, we serve them. We try to carry out, we accept they have more Krishna consciousness than me. Let me inquire, let me understand, let me give some service, like Narada Muni did to the Bhakti Vedantas. He served them. So that's my solution. Judging, we always have to judge. Discrimination must be there, but it should not be it should not be negative. It should be positive. Always keep it positive. Always for the benefit of the other person. Any other question? Well, looks like everybody's hungry. So I guess we'll stop here. I want to thank you all very much for your kind attention and for some of my senior, of course, all of you are senior to me, I hope, because I wouldn't want you to be less than me. That would be a great misfortune. But for those that are definitely senior to me, thank you for tolerating me and encouraging me by being there and listening. And all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.